Hey guys, so I wanted to do this video talking about a question I've gotten asked a few times by people online and by a couple of friends, and it's going to be kind of a two-parter question. But the overall question that is asked, and I think a lot of people going through the transitional process get asked this question. Um, why do you want to be blank? Or what makes you want to become a girl, or what makes you want to become a boy if you're transitioning as a man? Um it's not that I'm choosing to like take like my essence out of me and like put it in a female vessel. Like, that's not how this works. um it's my body, a lot of surgery involved in um just in the world. It's You're not changing your body when you go through plastic surgery. Maybe you get a nose job, or like you get like a boob job or something like that. You don't it's not like you're taking one it's not like you're taking your old breast or your old nose and you're like just cutting it off, and they have like a collection of noses that you just pick one out. You're like, oh, I like that one. Like, it's a lobster at Red Lobster. You're like, I want that one. Like, I want that one. It's not like that. So like you're not changing your body. Well, you're not changing from being a man to being a woman, or being a woman to being a man. That's not how that works. The way that I like to think about it, and I know a couple people, at least that I know of, think along the same vein. Gender to me is something that it's all mental, and what I mean by that is there's many different ways of categorizing things in in the way that you function as a human being, or you function as a mammal, because humans are mammals. Science. So, okay, instincts. The the act of reproduction, that is an instinct. Naturally, you want to create an offspring, and you want to like you want to continue in a way, like your lineage, your heritage. Heritage isn't a good word. Your lineage. Let's just use lineage, because that's a cool word to use. So you're like, I want to have kids because I want to have kids. But through time, we've grown reasons to want to have families, or to not to want to have families. And that's fine if you don't want to have kids, or you don't want a family. That's perfectly fine. It doesn't make you any weird, or anything like that. And nobody should look at you and be like, oh, well, why don't you want to have kids? Because I don't want to have kids. Don't ask me. Like, I want a family. Like, I want to be a mommy. But I know some of my friends don't. They don't want kids, and that's fine. And like, when you're thinking about it in the sense of like the animal kingdom, especially with mammals, there are constant discussions about pheromones, and what those pheromones do to the primal instincts of that mammal. And as humans have evolved, we don't really have those same like soul primal brains or primal instincts. Like, we have them repressed down between hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of like conditioning and evolution. But like, those are still there, just way deep, 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 deep down. So it's that's an instinctual thing, is like reproduction. But gender is something that comes from your mind, how you perceive yourself. You can perceive yourself as a man, or perceive yourself as a woman, or like it's on a case to case basis. So for somebody who's like oh, I'm a guy. You don't need everyone that comes up to you in your life to be like, hey, you're a guy. you're a guy. You're a guy. You're a guy. And you're like, yeah, I know. I'm a guy. I got muscles on muscles. I'm a freaking guy. And if you don't have muscles on muscles, you're still a guy too if you see yourself as a guy. I'm just playing on stereotypes for the point of this example. So bear with me. Okay. And so you don't need that validation. You know who you are. And this is like the first step to what dysphoria comes from for somebody who's transitioning, is you're being told you're this one's perceived gender a large part of your early life. And the big thing about early life is it is incredibly influential to how you grow up. So that's why you see some people with bad early lives kind of start to fall apart a little bit, is because maybe they didn't get the proper education that they needed from their parents about things, or they weren't taught certain things. That's why you're seeing a lot of weird things. And you start questioning, like, oh, what is wrong with that person? And maybe you go out to the store and there's like this person who's like 30 or something, and they're acting like a child, and you're like, what? Like, I would have gotten hit if that was the case. Like, are you kidding? Like, I wouldn't dare act so rude or just obnoxious as I've seen some people act. And that's because I was brought up properly growing up. So growing up, you're very influential, or you're influenced greatly by those around you. So when you're growing up and somebody is saying that you're a boy, you're a boy, you're a boy, you're a boy, you're eventually just gonna kind of roll with it. Even if it doesn't feel right to you, you're gonna kind of go with it. And you're just going with it because you don't know any better. Like, you don't have all these like TV shows talking about like transgender people and being like, oh yeah, this is the real struggle of a transgendered person. Like, let's talk about it. Like, let's talk about what dysphoria means. Let's talk about how somebody growing up might feel this way and like what that means. Like, you don't have that on TV. You have like just really basic, just guys and girls. That's what you do. You're a guy or you're a girl. And that's what you do. Okay. So, when it comes to that kind of stuff, it gets very, very difficult to adjust and to try to figure out what you're going through. I remember growing up and being so confused with who I was, and like I kind of talked a little bit about it with my dad, and my dad didn't understand either, because like my parents both kind of had really rough upbringings, and they had a lot happen to them. They're very cautious and experienced of the world, and they're very just, they've had a lot of trials that they've gone through. So for my dad, when I was talking to him about it, and I was like, it's hard being bullied. I feel like I don't fit into school or anything like that. And my dad was like, yeah, like I did too. Like, it's, school's kind of hard. Like, you don't always feel like you're going to fit in. And so like, I kind of thought like, okay, well, maybe that's just what happens. But then I started to see like, I guess the popular kids, and I was like, wait, so how are they so happy? How are they so successful? Like, I don't get it. And like, I would try to do those things to like emulate them, and it always felt fake. It always felt like I wasn't being myself. Even if I was like trying to imitate like popular guys and be like, oh yeah, this is who I am. Like, come on, like, let's go. It didn't feel right. It felt very fake. It felt very forced. And that's a big deal, because it just kind of compounded the feeling of not belonging anywhere growing up, and like the dysphoria. So when it comes to dysphoria, you're kind of just having to grasp a little bit at straws growing up, and like trying to figure out your sense of self and your own identity. And like people, some people struggle with identity for different reasons. You know, maybe makeovers help change people. um it's just stuff like that. Like it's just a sense of identity, and it's a sense of mental awareness is who you are. So being told that you're this gender or that gender, that doesn't really, like, that's not who you are. You're the only one who knows up in your head exactly who you are. So in my case, I'm a woman. I'm a girl. I never felt like a guy. I never felt like a man, ever. Even when I tried to just go with it. I around like junior, senior year, and then a little bit after that, I would try to go and buy clothes that were like, I tried different styles a lot through school, and I tried to like just find something that made me feel more comfortable, and nothing worked. And it got to a point where I just didn't care. I didn't care how I looked or what I wore or anything like that. I just knew I wasn't comfortable. And I kind of got to a point where I accepted that. And that sucks. Like, you should never have to accept that you're not right. That like something's wrong and you just don't understand it. But that's kind of a little bit about dysphoria. I know I kind of threw that in here, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about that, so people who didn't understand like how serious gender dysphoria is, how much that really affects you. And it's hard. It is so difficult for those experiencing that. And even still, I get it. I still feel like dysphoria. I've only been 3 months under my HRT, and up until recently, I didn't feel like anything really changed that much. And it was still hard. I like looked at old pictures of me, and it blew my mind, and I was like, oh my God, like, oh, that feels so much better. Like, I look so much better. Like, that made me feel great. But then there's still a lot of days where I just have like that dysphoria because I'm still so early on in my process. But I have always been a girl. Short end of it. If you're a trans man, you have always been a guy. It's not like you were born in the wrong body. You have your body. That is your body. That is what you were born with. You know, if you're religious, that was the body that God gave you. If you're not religious, that was the body you were born with. Let's keep it scientific, right? The body you were born with. So you're not turning yourself like Captain Ginyu from Dragon Ball Z and being like, oh, a girl, oh, change, like, I want to change into that body right now. You're like, that's not how that works. I have said, or I will say that I have looked at some girls and I'm like, I wonder if I'll be as pretty as her, or I wonder if I'll look like her after everything. Like, I have this own image of myself in my mind that I want to be. But there was a while where I didn't have that image, and I was just kind of like looking at girls, and I may not have been interested in them in a romantic way or a sexual way, but I've looked at them like, man, I wonder if that's how I would look if I was a girl. Like, I remember that super early on. And I was like, oh man, like, I wonder if I would look like this. And now, like, I have an image of myself, and I'm taking steps to fill that image so I'm more comfortable with my sense of self and my dysphoria. But yeah, you're not choosing to be a girl. You're not choosing to be a boy. You are a boy. You are a girl. Just as any cisgender individual is. That's how you are. So yeah, like, I I hope that little bit, like, it's such a simple way to answer the question, but it really does need a lot of setup to it to explain it and to help people understand, like, understand a little bit more about what gender is, because there's a lot of people that really don't think about what gender is, because, you know, to them it's just to, and it's like, well, gender is all about how you see yourself as. So you know, you can see yourself as many different things. And yeah, like, you're not weird for having dysphoria, or for, like, having a different sense of gender than what you were told most of your life. The next thing is, when it comes to phrasing, like phrasing stuff like that, meh. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about like, just that question in general, as well as talk a little bit about, like, dysphoria, and really kind of give, like, a little bit of a backstory as to that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was, like, enlightening. I hope you learned something from it. But thank you very much, and take care, okay? Bye!